You hear that? This is the HyperVolt Plus from HyperIce, and today's guest is CEO Jim Huether of HyperIce. And in today's episode, you're going to learn all about the incredible advancements in technology, wearables, devices, and just what we are doing in the quantified world to bring awareness to optimizing our life, our recovery, our sleep, and how that can tie into qualitative data, how we feel, how we want to show up in the world, whether you're a stay-at-home dad or a high-performance athlete. They work with the NBA, they work with professional athletes all over the world. They also work with people like me, people like you, people that want to just take better care of themselves. There are some exciting advancements in the health technology ecosystem that Jim is going to be talking about. And I'm for one very, very excited because I love feeling my best. And this has been an incredible asset to my recovery, my overall wellness, and just daily mobility. We're going to be talking about soft tissue hygiene and how HyperIce is really democratizing recovery. Welcome to EverForward Radio.
3, 2, 1.
Jim, what's going on, man? I got to say your background is looking way more tech than me. I do have my guy right here. You got a lot more toys in the background, so you came prepared. I came prepared, man.
I love the product placement. Thanks for having me on. It's a big fan of the podcast.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And you're the type of guest, the type of expert that I get really, really excited to have on and to just have you just share your knowledge and experience with this whole concept of human performance, human optimization. It has, I think, gained a lot of momentum over the years through a lot of different approaches, through scientific studies, through a lot of people just tapping more into their own personal biofeedback, I think, but just really all through the lens, I'll say, of the quantified self. What can we do? What can we use? What are these tools and trackers and devices to just aid in our daily wellness, but perform better, get better, train better, live longer even. So I'll let you kind of spill the beans, man, but I'm excited to kind of hear what you have to say about HyperIce and all these incredible quantified self devices.
Yeah, very, very excited to talk about it more thoroughly as well. I think that what's really interesting to me, just from a big picture perspective, is with the emergence of all the data, the wearable devices, new technologies, people are caring more about understanding the human body. And when you look at the evolution of technology, the more technology and things we can do to manipulate the body, the more understanding we have, right? The more precise we can be in changing the human body in ways that we want to increase human performance in a positive manner, right? So what I'm really excited about right now is the level of data, the level of technology, and the level of research. I think we're at the very, very inception of what we're going to uncover around the human body. And we can only be more and more precise. And the more precise we can be in the health and wellness space, the more we can prepare the human body for activity, the more we can give feedback for recovery, the more we can engage in body maintenance routines so that people can optimize their movement and feel and live better. So it's a really exciting time for the space. And again, I think a lot of people will say, hey, this space, there's a lot of competition and a lot of different companies coming. This is the very, very early innings of where this is going to go.
It's interesting that you have already started talking about the tech space in a way, the tools and resources, but you kept honing in on the human body. I was kind of expecting you to say advancements in technology, what we're learning more about technology and the advancements of what we can do and apply ourselves through tech, but you went with the human. So is that kind of maybe more at the forefront? Is it we're using tools to understand more of the human experience rather than using the human experience to expand our technology?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think it's, the more we learn around the human body and the more we understand, for example, there's new studies that talk a lot about the body and the soft tissue and the liquid format in the body and the way you can look at elasticity of the muscles. All of that new science and technology is creating new mindset in how we approach developing technology that can enhance the body. For example, circulation, right? Increase in circulation has been a benefit for a lot of years. Everybody knows that, if you utilize technology, you have circulation, you can sleep better, you have more energy, you can.
No one, I
It's
think, would
very,
disagree with you there. More
yeah,
circulation, the better. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And now you're seeing the focus on circulation for sleep, right? There's a lot of studies, and Whoop was one of those companies that, came out pretty heavy with research around better sleep,
Love this
right?
thing. Been going on
So,
almost 2 years of data. It's incredible.
yep. So we're starting to, through the use of technology, uncover how we can use technology more effectively for the human body. And as we're getting more data and we're getting more analytics and we're able to see people's activity and how they're responding to technology, we can be more precise in our recommendations to elevate the way people move and the way they live. So it's almost a convergence of understanding the human body, science and research, and having access to technologies where we can deliver better products to then meet the needs of the human body.
Understanding the human body can be very, very beneficial in terms of a blanket statement. But would you say, or I guess the question is, when is it the understanding the human body is enough to apply for benefits for people versus understanding the human body enough to dissect for the individual self? How do we go from just understanding us, more as a species and what maybe is a blanket, hey, this is good or this can improve us, to really the individual level?
A great question. There's actually a Lenny Parasino, who's the head of or on our advisory board, scientific advisory board, and is also the head physical therapist for the Los Angeles Clippers, and he comes very well respected from the Gray Institute, is actually doing studies right now on the living body as opposed to cadavers, right? Because a lot of the old science and research dissecting dead body, so to speak. And so research and science going around understanding the human body while it's living, of course, right? So I think there's a whole bunch of research coming down the pipe from Lenny and others that are studying elements of the human body that haven't been studied before in that capacity. And I think what that does is it just unlocks our understanding of how the human body works. And we can, again, develop tools and technologies that are more precise and, more effective.
In all the research you all are doing over there, that's a great point. I think a very, very distinct point that the listener should pay attention to. A lot of these studies, technology, the human body, medicine, natural aids, unfortunately, it can look and feel and translate differently when we go from studying a cadaver, studying something that has no life, to, well, when we are alive. It's the difference of trying to dissect and pick apart a car when it's, completely out of fuel and turned off versus the engine's running. Things are going to translate very differently. What has been maybe one of the biggest kind of revelations or ahas you all have discovered when it comes to, hey, what we thought maybe about the human body isn't translating as well when we're alive to what is happening, posthumously?
That's a great question. You actually used an analogy that we use all the time when we talk about, being able to understand what's wrong with your car or what's right with your car. When you're driving your car, you have a lot of different gauges. You can tell how much gas you have. You can tell how much oil you have. You can tell if your right tire is flat, right? Up to this stage, there hasn't really been an indicator for your human body. And that's what a lot of wearable devices are starting to do, right? You have Whoop or Garmin Fit, all the Apple Health, really starting to dissect and be almost like a check engine light for you. Hey, here's what's happening in your body. Here's the things that you can do to repair the body or to enhance your ability to perform at a higher level, right? And it's really interesting because when you look at, Whoop, for example, which is they're really focused on sleep, and now they're focused on other elements. They've actually been able to, detect respiratory pattern imbalances, so to speak, and understand you might have COVID. Right. So they're looking at different metrics in your body. So
yeah,
they're
I was just
looking
going to
at
say,
different metrics in your body.
the red flags for COVID have been monumental. I mean, the feedback from customers has been crazy.
So it's back to my earlier point. If you understand what's going on in your body more, and you really can extrapolate the data and understand what the data means, right, then you can provide more of a accurate service, accommodation, recommendation, whatever it may be, to then improve the human body and to get back on track. And when we don't have those check engine lights or those oil lights or those right flat tires to measure imbalances in the body, or sleep deprivations or whatever it may be, it's tough for you to provide recommendations that are going to improve, because it's all guesswork, right? So this is where I think you're seeing this convergence of data analytics, understanding what's going on in the body. And now, because we understand more, we can fine tune our technology and be more effective and precise.
Well said. Well said. And what you all are doing, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you and a lot of wearable devices, physical activity trackers, what a lot of technology is doing this day and age is providing quantified data, numbers, direct feedback based on respiratory heart rate variability, sleep patterns, activity, caloric expenditure, footsteps, all these things that can be measured. But when it comes to the qualitative side, when it comes to how we feel, if we're feeling up to giving it our all today, if we're feeling like we really need to spend a lot more time stretching, if we're feeling like our sleep isn't where it should be, where do you see kind of the gray area, the blend, the Venn diagram, if you will, of the advancements in quantitative to the tried and true kind of qualitative?
So I feel like, having the quantitative data is very helpful, but you still need an actionable item to do something with that data, right? It's one of our value propositions, right? You can have all the data and analytics and the check engine light and the oil light, but if you don't have the tools or the offering to then do something with it, you're not completing the full circle value proposition.
It's like, what are you going to do? Knowing without doing is the same thing as not knowing, I always say.
Right. And so the way that we approach our tools and technologies, one, obviously, we're always looking to be disruptive and come up with cutting edge technology that is at the forefront. But we also want the experience to be great, right? Every one of our products has to pass the test of, does this feel good? Is it a positive experience for the consumer, right? Do they want to engage in this? Because if we can get them to want to engage in the technologies, right, they're going to make those technologies habitual. They're going to want to rely on them. And that's when you get a greater impact, right? We don't want just people using the HyperVolt when they're sore on one spot of their arm. We want them to understand that they could use the product on their hips to relieve stress in their lower back and feet, right? So adding education is actually adding utility to the devices and building on the value proposition of what we're trying to do. And that's help everybody move better, help everybody live better.
So then I guess my question to that is, what is the education behind this? I've got mine right here. I've explored it, played around with it. I have a little bit of some familiarity around this type of modality, just given my background in education and profession. But to the newbie, to the person who just has the pain, like you're talking about, and is looking for that help and is looking for that behavior change, like, what is the education behind this? Like, how can someone know that this is something that can benefit me?
So what we're building, and we're calling it our HyperSmart technology, which is our connected ecosystem that is curating content from your wearable devices and providing recommendations on how and when to use the products. So for example, let's say that you are Whoop or Apple Health, and you have a wearable device, you have an Apple Watch or you have a Whoop, and we're able to then pull data from Whoop or Apple Health that says you ran this amount of miles. So you ran 3 miles, your intensity level was 30% more than it normally is. Your heart rate was X. You slept 7 hours last night. Your respiratory pattern was Y, right? And you like tennis, for example, right? We're going to be able to take that wearable data, bring it into our algorithm, which is a group of scientific advisors who have created these complex algorithms with us, and then recommend you a specific routine with a product that you own at the precise time that you should engage with that product so that you can enhance your well-being, right? So that's, it's almost like we're providing you a wellness coach in a sense, but through scientific experts. And by the way, we're going to send you that piece of content from Naomi Osaka's performance coach, because we know that you like tennis. So now you're being communicated in a language that you want to hear, right? You understand it. It's common to you. We're giving you a recommendation that is more precise than we would if we did not know your activity metrics. And we're delivering you a product which feels good because the experience is great. And that right there is the unlock. So that's what I'm really excited about right now. And our goal is to make this HyperSmart ecosystem so precise that it becomes habitual and you rely on it because you trust it.
Everything you're talking about right there, it takes me back to my health coaching days when I would hear so many horror stories. I'm sure someone listening, especially another coach or trainer, can relate. When a client comes across your desk or in the gym or whatever, and what do they want? What do we all want? We want to feel better. We want to look better. We want to take control of our health, our wellness. We have certain individual health and fitness goals. And what happens to a lot of people that is totally like against the grain and is most likely not going to keep them adherent? They say, hey, I want to get better. I want to feel better. Okay. Then someone throws a workout at them that has nothing to do with what they're able to do or want to do, that is so far ahead of their intensity or their readiness level. They go from, hey, I think I want to like lose some weight, to extreme calorie counting, extreme meal prepping. It's like throwing, the phone book at somebody when all they asked for was, hey, like what's your number? And so what I'm hearing is that you all are really kind of taking into consideration, I guess, is the humanization of all this, of what we can do and what we can apply, but through the lens of what is going to be the longevity experience, what's going to add to adherence, what's going to really contribute to overall behavior change, meeting them where they are and getting them where they want to be.
And you have to make sure that the human interaction is in the right mindset as well.
Yeah.
We could develop products that are very effective and do not have a great experience. Right. And you look at even some of, competitive products in the past that were really loud, let's say in the percussion space, like that's not helping psychologically as you're trying to recover, as you're trying to wind down and your body is trying to say, I'm ready to recover, right? This is the time where I'm going to rest. I'm going to recover. I'm going to utilize technology. I'm going to wind down and I'm going to feel good. So even small elements like that, we're diagnosing those and saying this experience, this holistic experience that you're having has to be good. If it's not good, then people are not going to engage in it regularly. And if you don't engage in it regularly, it's going to be less effective, right? So that's our goal. We want you to be engaging daily because we know we can affect your health and wellness significantly better if you're doing so. And to get you there, you have to enjoy doing it.
Truly. To complete the analogy there, it's why do so many people stop showing up to the gym? Why do so many people stop meeting their coach? Because, they kill me every workout, or they make me eat this, or they tell me I can't have that, or it's the experience. That I think is really part of the secret sauce there, and you guys seem to be doing a great job of incorporating that. How did all this come to be? Was it just seeing something that already existed in the market, and like so many of us in the entrepreneur space, hey, I like that, but I feel like I can make it a little bit better or a little bit more effective or a little bit more affordable? Or was this just something that came out of, the ether one day? How did all this happen?
Yeah, so it started, so I'm the CEO of the company. Anthony Katz is the founder of the company, actually was a former teacher and basketball coach. And when he got into his late 30s, his body started to break down and he couldn't do the things that he loved. So he was inspired. Let me try to create a series of products or a product at the beginning that could help me do the things I love, get me so I had the same range of motion. I could play in my competitive basketball league or whatever it was, because he lost his motion, he lost his movement. So that was the inspiration behind the first product, which was actually an ice compression device. It was an innovative spin on icing, which Kobe Bryant actually helped.
There's HyperIce. I was wondering where the name came about. I got you now.
Product, and Kobe Bryant actually helped us develop that product, help us with the aesthetics. We gave him the product. He continued to use it. He came back with feedback. He said, here's what you need to do. And then one of the things he mentioned, which kind of ties into my last point, he said, for players to use this, the experience has to be great and it has to look good and feel good, right? And so that started kind of our relentless attention towards detail in making, products that were aesthetically pleasing, dynamic, effective, and innovative. From there, when Anthony and I met, we met in 2014. I was in the health tech space for about 10 years prior, actually in the concussion space, developing technologies for concussion mitigation and such. And we aligned in 2014 around the vision of really being more of a tech company, a combination of a Tesla, Dyson, Nike, and Apple, right? If you were to put those companies together, this is what we both saw for the vision. We had a product at the time that was innovative, that a lot of players were using, but we wanted to explore technology, electronics, and really, really be disruptive in the space. So the first product we launched was the Viper, which is a high intensity vibration fitness roller. And we actually put that on Kickstarter. At the time, we didn't really need the money, but we did it for the technology positioning on a bunch of publications. And that really kind of cemented our position as, you know, a true tech company, so to speak. And from there, we've developed 1 to 2 technology driven innovations since 2014. And then I've acquired a couple of companies recently as well to build out the diverse suite of different modalities so that we can help everybody move better.
What has been some of the feedback from, I mean, it sounds like you started with premium athletes. I mean, Kobe Bryant, premium athlete, of course. You're getting this into the hands of professional athletes, high performers. What has been some of the feedback from the people playing at that high professional level to maybe just, you know, a stay-at-home dad or a single mom, you know, who just is looking to alleviate the stressors? Is it really both ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between?
Business right now, when you look at how people would perceive the business, they look at us and they say, oh, you guys are a sports performance company. That's what most people know us for. They see us on the sidelines, LeBron's using the product. We have a partnership with Colleague. We had a HyperIce car that we launched during the Daytona 500. But the reality is sports and teams represents less than 8% of our business, right? It drives a lot of awareness. And the reason we went to sports and focused so heavily on sports performance first is we knew that if we could create the credibility in a space where athlete longevity is so essential and teams and owners are spending millions of dollars on the best scientific experts, the best physical therapists, the best athletic trainers, and the best technology to keep their multi-million-dollar assets on the field, right? How do you keep this athlete on the field playing for as long as humanly possible? If we could be a company where those experts relied on our technology, we could go anywhere, right? We would be good enough for everybody. The dad to at home who's trying to lift his kid and has lower back pain and just, you know, is 55 years old and wants to move freely and do the things he loves with his kids. That's our customer.
Yeah, if you start at the top, everybody is already looking up to those people for
Exactly.
the little tips and tricks and ways to, like, you know, be like Mike kind of thing, you know, versus
Absolutely.
starting with the person who, you know, doesn't do any of that. It's kind of a harder reverse sale, if you will. So yeah, that makes sense.
We look at it as we wanted to democratize this space, democratize recovery, so to speak. And as technology has gotten better, our goal is to make the products more accessible, right? So we acquired Normatec. We brought the price point from $1,300 all the way down to $899 through economies of scales and efficiency and all those different things. So for us, we want to have the greatest impact possible. We want to be a company that's remembered as we change the way people think about movement. We change the way people think about health through technology. And the more people we reach, the greater impact we can have on the world. Our target customer is not LeBron James or Patrick Mahomes. Like, they're an important customer for us, but our target customer is the everyday Equinox goer, Peloton rider, dad who's, you know, taking his kid to Little League. However we can help people enhance the way they move, enhance their performance as a dad, as a worker in the workplace, in the military, whatever it may be, that's what we're trying to unlock.
I see that and I feel it literally. I'll share a little bit of my personal experience with the device. Having it now for, wow, it's been a minute. I think 8 months, pushing 8 months, at least 6. And you know, I'm of the practice, I guess, I wouldn't say quite belief system, just out of habit of when I go hard in the gym or if I'm super stressed out or if I'm, you know, walking a lot or traveling a lot. If I've been doing a lot of X, then I need to focus on recovery.
Right.
And so it worked well for that. After a hard workout, after being seated for too long, kind of just loosening up the muscles. But one thing that was profound for me was when I just, out of an experiment, just like, let me just use it a little bit more often, even if I haven't trained today, even if I haven't been doing anything out of the norm, let me just kind of incorporate it just a few minutes in the evenings when I was laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep. Even just that regular habitual use aided significantly in just how I felt, how I moved. It was, I guess what I'm trying to say is, recovery for me began to look and feel different. Recovery for me began to transcend outside of just the perceived norm of, if I train hard, if I train regularly, then I also must recover hard and recover regularly. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. And it's one of the reasons that we started out really focusing on the word recovery. And that's kind of where we're well known. People say, oh, it's a recovery technology company, or they're a recovery tech super brand. But we really break it into three buckets. You have warm up, recovery, and then in between is body maintenance. And what you're talking about is body maintenance, creating the circulation benefits, getting yourself out of soreness, removing the stiffness in your body, all those different elements so you can move freely, have more energy, do the things you love effectively. So everybody understands warm up, everybody understands recovery. We're trying to change habits to get people to engage in this body maintenance element. And that's a big goal and aspiration for us, to get people to understand how important that can be, to make this habitual part of your daily lifestyle. And it's getting there. We're in the early stages, but I feel like consumers like yourself, like you just mentioned, you are noticing the difference, right?
Yeah.
And you only have one human body. So we really believe that the more we can teach people and educate them about how important it is to take care of it, the more effective we can be in this world as a company.
Well said. Well said. I want to play devil's advocate a little bit here, if I could.
Mhm.
These types of devices, I personally have seen some backlash from people, everyday people, professional athletes, trainers, therapists, and like, oh no, it's too aggressive. You don't need that. You only need it if you're, at maybe some kind of injury or recovery or high performance level. What would you say to that? What would you say is maybe the wrong way to use something like this? I guess where is recovering hard not best suited for people?
Yeah, and it's interesting because we focused a lot on making the products so that they're very accessible for all. So multiple speeds on the HyperVolt, pressure sensor technology, so you can gauge, if you're more fragile or you're using the product on a different part of your body with less muscle mass, so to speak. We're guiding you on how to use it more effectively. Different head applicators with different durometers that kind of can work on different body parts effectively. So I think we feel pretty strongly that there is something for everybody in all of the products, because we're really focused on making sure that they are accessible for everybody and they're not too intense, or they're not only for pro athletes. I think as people understand what the product is doing, as you understand body maintenance and you understand what's happening with circulation, you start to get rid of some of those kind of false thoughts. But yeah, I'm not seeing as much of that. I feel like there was some backlash early on. Like we actually thought, this is interesting. We thought when we entered the massage therapy space and the physical therapy space that we were going to get backlash from massage therapists and physical therapists, because they would feel like the products were replacing them. Because if you're a massage therapist and you weren't a deep tissue therapist, now you can be one, right? So the tools, they're actually expanding the expertise of the therapist and practitioner, because they can do things that they couldn't do before, potentially with their hands. They can bring a new modality that's differentiated for their clientele. So they're looking at it actually as a positive as opposed to a threat. But I think that the mentality to your original question is changing, and people are really understanding that this is really important for everybody and not just the professional athlete.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Everything actually, as you were describing that, it really did kind of hit home for me of remembering when all this kind of new technology, new devices came out. I think it's pretty common for a lot of people in the space to be like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. You know, really the best way is going to be going to see a trusted professional, certified this, professional that kind of thing. But yeah, it has. Now that I look back, it has been a staple, really, a new tool in a lot of these professionals' toolbox to continue to treat and also expand on how they're able to treat, for sure. Where do you see this going? We were kind of talking about how this new ecosystem is expanding, and we're getting a lot more devices and wearables and things to talk to each other to provide more feedback. Aside from that, let's maybe look at the human component here. The
Mhm.
tech is growing, the tech is getting there, the tech is evolving, the tech is talking. What about the human component? Where do you see this kind of maybe awakening, inserting some new awareness for people in terms of, hey, this is what I can be feeling. This is where I can be progressing. Where do you kind of see
Mhm.
the human potential growing the most aside from what the tech has to
Yeah,
offer?
I think the research around fluid dynamics is really interesting right now. And the analogy Lenny Parachino uses for us is think about oil, right? When oil in your car gets stagnant or thick and clumpy, right, your car has issues. The oil is not moving freely through your car. It's not circulating your car, so to speak, effectively.
The
When it,
viscosity is
yep,
all sludged up. Yeah.
yep. When, similarly in your body, if the liquid in your body is stagnant, not moving freely, not flowing throughout the body effectively, um, doesn't have lubrication elements, all those different things create issues. So what our products do to the soft tissue in the body are, help to move the liquid through the body more freely, right? We're breaking up the stagnant nature of the liquid inside the body. And the studies around fluid dynamics, which more and more are coming out now, I think are going to be very compelling and help people understand what it's doing. And the oil analogy is a good one, right? It's the same thing with cookie dough is a great analogy, right? If it's cold, it's really thick. If it starts to heat up, it becomes more soft and pliable. Same thing you're doing as you create circulation, you're heating the body, you're warming it up. So I think that there are a variety of really interesting studies that will come out in the next couple of years that are going to add an extra layer of excitement and credibility around what the products are doing to the human body and how that affects movement.
I agree. That concept is new for me, but the whole premise behind it is familiar. I mean, what do? The more we, through tools, through therapy, through understanding our own bodies, we experience more. We really get in touch with, hey, what's really going on here? And then we get to study it more, and then we get all these incredible devices and n equals one or n equals 1,000 studies to kind of prove or disprove. I know over the years my experience with myself, pushing myself to my limits, homeostasis, all these things, it has really provided insane biofeedback, and really helped kind of build, or I should say, not restrict, but really just put more realistic kind of parameters around what I want for my life, what I want my goals to be. What about you? What has been some of the personal experiences you've had over the years of qualitative, of quantitative, of biofeedback, of studies and science? What has been maybe some kind of big self-realization you've had?
Yeah. So for me personally, I'm really excited around sleep. I think that for me,
Oh,
that's something
speaking my language. Yeah.
I struggle with it very candidly. Like my brain is always, working. I'm thinking just as kind of a leader of an organization and having the entrepreneurial mindset, like it's hard to shut down. So I've always had trouble sleeping. And I think some of the studies around utilization of technology to help sleep and why, right, as it relates to circulation, as it relates to kind of winding down, um, to me have been really interesting. And we're diving more into that. And that's why we're working on some stuff with Whoop, which will be very exciting as well. But I think that's an area that a lot of consumers are starting to understand, but really don't put enough attention to. They just don't care as much, and you may do all great things around recovery, and if you sleep 3 hours, you're going to feel like crap. It's just going to happen. So I like how there has been more of a focus around sleep. I think some of the data and research that's coming out, that I know is coming out soon, will just memorialize that more thoroughly.
And to your point earlier of understanding this fluidity in the body, one of the big things I've learned in studying sleep more is that when we sleep, I mean, just our brain's capacity and fluidity decreases, increase, so that our cerebrospinal fluid can flood and wash over and cleanse and remove toxins and deliver nutrients. So to your point of sleep and this whole idea of fluid traffic in our body, they're one and the same, and they're individual systems, but they both work together. And so our sleep is poor, then we're not able to kind of wash over the brain and then drain out through the lymphatic system the next morning and be as recovered, and probably be that sludgy oil the next day, regardless of how hard we try to use our HyperIce to recover. It's just a really cool little analogy there.
And I love that. And I think we talk a lot about conditioning the soft tissue, toothbrush analogy, but you wake up every morning and you brush your teeth, right? Brush your teeth maybe at lunch, you brush your teeth before you go to bed. It becomes habitual. It's part of your routine. It's part of your dental hygiene, right? In a sense, we're bringing soft tissue hygiene to the world, right? Like, how are you conditioning the soft tissue so it is moving freely? And you're removing anything that's creating a blocker from your body from doing what you want to do and how you want to move. So I think, for what people, a lot of the experience that people that they receive with our products, they feel really good. And so they purchase the products and they want to go tell 10 people, but this is actually why, right? They're feeling good because this is happening in their body. It's not just because when it's hitting you, it feels good for a moment. It's doing this to your body, and it's why you're having the type of energy gains and why you're having this kind of effect where you want to go tell 10 or 15 of your friends about how it changed the way you feel.
Well said. It's just another great tool that we have to provide the longevity. It in and of itself provides kind of the short-term remedy and feel goodness, so that we can feel good as long as possible. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, Jim, it's been great having you on the show here, man. Kind of getting close to the end here. I want to just acknowledge the work that you guys have done and the whole team and crew at HyperIce, what you're doing for professional athletes, for normal people like me, and everybody listening, whether we're weekend warriors, stay-at-home dads, or whatever it is. The recovery is for everybody. And getting better at recovery and getting better at understanding quantitative data and qualitative data, all these ways to just get feedback is, all part of the process, I say, to help us live a life ever forward. It's bringing attention and awareness to these key areas of our life that we can maintain if they're good, and, optimize even just 1%. So with that, I have one final question. What does that mean to you, living a life ever forward? How does that fall on you?
To me, it's, I live my life. I try to kind of preach good energy across the board. That's something that we have instilled in this company. Everybody reads the book Energy Bus by John Gordon when they come into the company. Important for people to be able to lift others up, to be able to, approach things with a positive mindset and approach things the right way. And for me, I think feeling good and having your body without restrictions is not only physical, but very mental. And I think it affects your well-being. So for me, I think people taking health and wellness seriously, and watching how that affects the way that they interact with people and how they are in the world, it's really important to me. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And it's a big mission for us to say that we're going to change the world, so to speak. And it sounds cliche, but I really think we can affect people physically and mentally in a positive way.
I'm here for it, man. Great answer. I love your point there of becoming more aware of the effect you have on the world through improving your own life. there is a
Yep.
significant ripple effect. And when
Yep.
we take proper dominion over our lives, our health, our fitness, our wellness, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, like that transcends that. We become walking, talking, radiating billboards of what's possible. And that affects people. People want to know, hey, what are you sipping on? What are you using?
No doubt. Well said.